Our social media has been abuzz in the last few days following the distribution of an invoice amounting to millions of rand. It's claimed that the payment was for a door-to-door campaign done in the Eastern Cape. The OR Tambo district municipality reportedly launched an investigation into that leaked invoice. It's not the only probe underway. The Social Justice and COVID-19 Police and Relief Monitoring Alliance is also lodging a PIA request on Monday. Let's discuss this further. We're joined by Professor Thuli Madonsela, who is the Law Trust Social Chair at the University of Stellenbosch. Good evening, and thank you so much for your time tonight, Prof. Madonsela. Firstly, let's just talk about what has actually happened here. It's but one scenario of the way in which corruption may be taking place during this time under the auspices of COVID-19, but in fact, it's just another opportunity for people to loot money.
Good evening. It's really sad that people have no sense of cohesion. When I grew up, it was not allowed to steal. Stealing was just regarded as criminal and as wrong. But one thing for sure was that you don't steal from poor people and you don't steal from dead people. I really don't understand what's wrong with our people these days.
Let's talk about this PIA. Of course, it's a promotion to access of information that you are now launching. What information is it that you're looking for, and where do you think it's sitting?
We are going to be approaching the OR Tambo municipality with a PIA request, as you say, asking them if indeed there was procurement of services for a company to go around educating people, and if this happened during alert level 4, and we would want to get all of the documents regarding what was the process of procurement, what was the budget, what were the exact terms of reference, and has this company been paid, and what has it been paid for? You will see in the invoice, it would appear that it was paid for 4 days of work. And the Sunday Times has gone forward with the story, which now appears that the total amount invoice is 4.8. What is not clear is, has this 4.8 been paid?
We've seen similar allegations regarding the provision of PPE, whether it's masks, whether it's hand sanitizers, and often the cases that we can respond to are the ones that come out in public. I wonder if there's any further work that you are going to be doing to try and also be able to find out about some of the cases that may not necessarily come to us in the public, because if this is what we know, one wonders what it is that we don't know that might be going on.
Absolutely. The reason we formed SCOPRA was precisely to monitor the policy responses and the relief packages. We would like to know how much has been allocated by government and what has it been spent on. And the idea of SCOPRA is to make sure that there's no corruption, there's no wastage, and there's no incompetence. And where there is corruption or impropriety, we bring this to the attention of government speedily so that action may be taken. One of the problems with cases going to the Auditor General, Public Protector and other institutions is that often this happens long after the action has been taken, and by the time the investigation is finalized, the money has been eaten, and therefore even if you do make a finding of impropriety, the recovery of the money is impossible.
It's such an important point that you're bringing, especially raising those Chapter 9 institutions and the work that they're doing, because often, too, they face difficulties in accessing the very information that you need to be looking into. Do you anticipate that that will be part of the challenges that you face, too, as you try and do this work?
Absolutely, Cathy. If they have difficulties, we'll have even more difficulties because they have power given to them by law to ask these questions. We are using our power in terms of social accountability to ask these questions. But I do believe that the municipalities concerned will have no option but to give us the information. If not, we're going to go straight to the president. The president said at the beginning of this process that corruption will not be allowed, and if there's any sign of it, it will be rooted immediately. It will be rooted out immediately.
At the same time, however, we have the ANC speaking in the language of not just reinstating its officials that have been accused of corruption back into the structures of the organization, but also earlier on today, the Secretary General of the ANC, Mr. S. Makhashule, saying regardless of the allegations that he faces, he wouldn't step aside, and therefore there should be no expectation that people who are accused of anything within the governing party must step down. In fact, going further to say that it's part of an agenda to bring the ANC down.
Well, it's unfortunate that the Secretary General says that, because if you are investigating somebody important who is at the center of the operations of the organization, it usually makes sense for them to step aside, not to resign, to step aside so that they can allow the process to proceed without interference or fear. Because if, for example, he is the Secretary General, if he were to be investigated, the people who report to him would not be very comfortable to proceed with the investigation unless he was suspended. But that said, I think he's raising another important question, which is once people have been fingered, you can't suspend them for 2 years. You've got to take action to establish whether there was any impropriety, and if so, what are you going to do about it? And within the ANC, they've got their own disciplinary structures. Why haven't they dealt with this matter, at least in terms of internal party discipline, to establish whether there was cause for these people to be disciplined?
How much of rooting out corruption in our society depends on the actual political will, the fact that there must be
Absolutely.
some form of commitment from the parties that have power, whether it's political parties, whether it's on the part of the government, to actually keep to that?
I think you're absolutely right, Cathy. The starting point in rooting out corruption is political will backed by leadership. And without political will, you're not going to be able to root it out, because everyone goes undercover. And if those who are in the most senior positions are not prepared to take a firm stand, nothing is going to move forward.
All right. Well,
Malaysia is a good example. Singapore is a very good example of having top leadership take a firm stand against corruption.